All right, everyone, we're just going to take a few minutes while everybody is getting logged in here. We have about 5-ish minutes until we get started. I do want to make sure everybody can hear me. If you can hear me, can you go ahead and give me a thumbs up or put a yes in the chat, please? Just want to make sure all of our technology is going well. All right, we got a yes. We got a yes. Love it. Thumbs up. Loud and clear. So good. Thank you guys so much. Aloha. Aloha back to you. So where's everybody logging in from? We are doing these webinars in the whole state. So it's always good to know where everybody's coming from. We got Mike from Kauai. Awesome. Hi, Mike. Glad to have you. I'm here on, I'm on Oahu today. I actually go back and forth between Oahu and Big Island, and you are catching me at a time that I'm on Oahu. We got Kimo from Waianae. Welcome, Kimo. So good to have you. We got Jenny from Lawai on Kauai. That's great. Thank you. Good to have you. Sam from Hawaii Kai. Hey, Sam, good to have you as well. Alohi from Kailua. We are covering a bunch of different islands tonight. Keikoa from Waimea on the Big Island. Lonnie from Sunset Beach. Hey, Lonnie, how are you? Bob from Salt Lake City, Utah. Hey, Bob, it's great to have you. Are you thinking about making a move over to Hawaii? Awesome. Well, this is the perfect place for you to be. We're going to be going over all kinds of information about how to buy a home here in Hawaii. So glad to have you. We got Steve from Hilo. Love it. More Big Islands. I do have some of my team on the call today. I know we have Sky. She's over on Kauai. And we have Kahana over on the Big Island. So between all of us, we're going to be able to take care of all of you. Looks like we have about 1 minute left before we get started. So just those of you that are still connecting and logging in, please give me a thumbs up in the chat. Give me a yes if you can hear me. Just want to make sure that the audio is working from everyone. And say hi. Let us know where you're logging in from. We got Richard from Kona. What's up, Richard? Alice from Maui. All right, we've got some Maui on tonight. Perfect. Well, I think it's about time that we get started because I do like to honor everybody's time and those of you that got here and logged in ready for the class. I don't want to make you wait any longer. We're hoping to get this done in under an hour. And with that being said, let's go. So as a new home buyer, do you feel stressed, concerned, uncertain, or anxious? Go ahead and throw it in the chat. Let us know what kinds of feelings you're going through right now. I know that buying a home and being a first-time home buyer, there's a lot of emotions that can come up. It's scary. I totally understand. Somebody said they're feeling a little bit scared. You know, there's a lot of misinformation out there. There's conflicting information. It's really hard to know, what information you can trust moving forward. Anybody else? Do you have any other feelings going on? Phil from Kona is saying it's confusing. Totally understand that. We're hoping by the end of the presentation, you will not feel confused any longer. We have some anxiety fears coming on here. Yes, this can be a very anxious process, especially if you've never done it before. So that's why we're all getting together as experts in the field to really help you guys and answer all those questions that are probably swimming in your head. I do want to mention that we like to have an interactive meeting. So as questions come up, please put them in the chat. We're going to do our best to answer them as we go, but we have a really full house on this webinar. Lots of people logged in, so we might not get to all the questions, in which case we're going to invite you to book a one-on-one call with the team. No obligation call. We're not going to sell you anything. There's nothing to buy. It's just free one-on-one time to get advice on your specific situation. So I will be putting my booking link in the chat. I'm going to do it right now. So you can have that ready if you feel like you want to book a one-on-one call with the team so we can get those questions answered. We have Sherry from Pearl City saying that it feels almost impossible. Sherry, you are not alone. That is something that happens to a lot of people. They feel like, I don't know if I can even do this. And so they just don't even try because it's overwhelming. And then we have a stress, somebody's feeling stressed out there. So absolutely, everybody. Let's start moving forward so we can relieve some of these feelings for you. So today we're going to talk a little bit about who we are. We're going to share with you what some of our clients have said about working with our team. We're going to tell you mistakes to avoid, and these mistakes can save you thousands of dollars. So you're not going to want to miss. You're going to want to stick around from that. We are going to have a Q&A session at the end. But as I said, please feel free to put questions in the chat as we go. Like I said, we do have a lot of people on this call today, so we want to make sure that we do get your questions answered, and you can immediately book a call one-on-one. If you feel like I'm going to want that call, just click the link. You can book yourself right onto the calendar at a time convenient for you. And at the end, we're going to make sure we make time to get those one-on-one appointments scheduled. So, all right. My name is Staci Wolff. I'm a real estate agent here in Hawaii, and I was first licensed in 2007. So I have been through a lot of changing markets. If you remember, 2007 was when the big housing crash was just starting. And that's when I entered the real estate market. So I have sold real estate in the hardest of times, and I sold real estate in the best of times where rates were good and people were out there writing offers, 30 offers on one house. So it doesn't really matter what the market is. We have a way to help you figure out the best path forward for you. I do own a home on the Big Island on the Hilo side. So I'm often working on the Big Island, and I do the whole island. So Kona side and Hilo side. I do also have a condo in Pearl City on Oahu. So you'll find me over here helping clients as well. I do love helping people become financially free, and I truly believe that home ownership is one of the best ways to do that. There's so many strategies that you can employ once you own a home of your own. And we have an entire team of professionals that can help you with different strategies to help that happen for you. I am the team leader of the Stark and Frolic Hawaii team, and I do like to call myself an expert negotiator. I do know that I seem all nice and happy right now, which is what I always try to lead with. It's always friendly, and I try to get things done the nice way. But make no mistake, if someone's trying to take advantage of a situation that involves one of my clients, that's not going to happen. I am very well versed in real estate and the laws and what you're entitled to. And so we will make sure that you will always have your needs met and you'll be represented in the absolute best way possible. So with that being said, and actually, yeah, somebody mentioned that 2008 was a crazy time. It absolutely was. So we're hoping we never see that again in our lifetime. Okay, with that being said, I want to introduce my team. I have two of my team members on the call tonight, and we do have several agents that work all across all islands. So if you do decide to book a call with us and move forward, you will be paired up with one of our island specialists to help you move forward in your home journey. So let's start with Kahana from the Big Islands.
Hi, I am Kahana. I grew up here in Hilo, Hawaii. I grew up in Panaeva, which is designated Hawaiian homelands. And I have since moved back to the Big Island after many years of living off island. I am back home now. I love being back home here on the Big Island. Very familiar with the area from growing up here and living here, and I love the atmosphere. I love the people, and I hope to help you to love it too.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kahana. And we have Sky on Kauai.
Aloha everyone, I'm Sky Andrade and I was born and raised here on Kauai. Went to high school, Waimea High School, and like Kahana, I spent some time living off island after high school and I moved back home a few years ago. It feels good to be back home. And part of the reason I decided to become a real estate agent was because the first time I bought a home, there was so much confusion, so much uncertainty. I felt like communication was lacking and the entire process was just really scary for me. And so I never wanted anybody to feel like that again. So part of my mission is to make my clients feel at ease and as comfortable as possible in this sometimes stressful process.
Very well said. And I promise you guys, we have a powerhouse team. And if anyone can help you get this done, it's someone on the Stark and Frolic Hawaii team. So we're very excited to meet you and help you make this dream of home ownership a reality. So let's talk a little bit about what our clients are saying. This is real testimonials from our Google page. So you are welcome to go on Google and find my page and you'll see I didn't just make this up. So it's actually on there. But I'm going to read this to you real quick. So from one of our clients, Chris, who purchased a home on the Big Island, he said, Staci made our dreams come true by being with us every step of the way to help us purchase our retirement home. She was always a phone call, text, or email away. It was astonishing to be able to watch her relentlessness and attention to detail. We couldn't be more happy with everything she has done for us. I highly recommend hiring her for your next purchase or sale. You won't be disappointed. And we had another client over on Oahu. Sorry, guys, I have some of my messages flashing on the screen. All right. So Rachel on Oahu, she said, while looking for real estate online, I came across Staci and was very impressed with her quick response and dedication to help us find the right place to buy. Staci responded to us the same day and met us the very next day. She brought us a welcome bag filled with chocolates and useful home buyer information. Throughout the entire process, Staci was very communicative and kind. She showed us multiple homes all over the island and brought us multiple sweet treats. She's also a chocolatier. That is true, you guys. I am a trained chocolatier. And so making chocolates is a hobby of mine. And I often show up to showings and meetings with handmade chocolates. That's another plus of working with our team. Staci has an awesome team who works all together, and they were able to find us the best home for the best price. They truly care about their clients and make a point to look out for their best interests by not just finding any home to buy, but finding them the right home that will work best for them in the long run. They made sure to look into each HOA, which means homeowners association, and discuss any current or future special assessments with us. And they took into account when we might be selling to make sure that we purchased in a community that would hold its value. Additionally, Staci was even able to negotiate with the buyer to allow us to move in 4 months early. She truly goes above and beyond, and I highly recommend working with her. So just a little bit from our clients. So what we're going to talk about is the steps to home ownership. So the first thing you need to do is come to this class so you can learn everything. Then you're going to get pre-approved with one of our trusted mortgage brokers. You're going to house hunt with one of the lovely realtors on our team. And then you're going to move into your dream home. So moving on, let's start talking about the mistakes that can come up when buying a home. This is where we're really going to get into the meats of this home buying process. So the first mistake that can come up is not checking which programs you might qualify for. And when I say programs, that means places that can give you cash or money to help you buy the home. The first one I love to talk about is our Community Heroes program. So do we have anybody on the call that is a veteran, active duty, a doctor, a nurse, a teacher, a firefighter, a police officer, or an EMT? Go ahead and put it in the chat. I'd love to see who we have on the call. It looks like Adam is a veteran. Awesome. Mike's a veteran. We have Russ, that is a teacher. Awesome. Maria is a nurse. Perfect. We have Jenny, she's a nurse as well. We have a lot of community heroes on this call. This is so exciting. We have April, that's a teacher. Perfect. So I'm really glad you guys are here today because this program is something I almost bet you've never heard of. It is a program that is underutilized, which is really sad to me. We have Mana, who is a police officer, wonderful. So the Community Heroes program is able to help you get thousands of dollars after you close on a home. So there's a calculation. It's all based on how much home you're purchasing. It usually comes out to be about $700 for every $100,000 worth of home that you purchase, but that can change. It's all subject to the specific situation. And I wanted to share that I am the #1 Community Heroes agent in the state of Hawaii, which is really awesome. I know that since I have made these slides, I have done more than 8 closings and have actually given back more than $20,000. But I'm able to, as of this slide, $20,000 back to our community heroes. That's huge. And this is something that you don't have to do anything for. You automatically qualify if you fall into one of these categories. So definitely book a call with us if you fall into one of these categories, because we would love to go over your specific situation. And again, I'm going to put my booking link in the chat. So if already you're like, wait, I qualify for that, and you want to talk to us in more detail, book a call. So I'm going to put that link in the chat again. But what I'd like to do, Sky recently had a community hero closing, and I'd love her to share a little bit about how that closing went and what she was able to do for that family.
Yeah, so a couple weeks ago, I closed a cute little condo for a couple, and the husband is a teacher and the wife is a nurse. So they would have qualified for the Heroes discount separately if they weren't a couple. So we really just had to put one of them in the system. But they got back over $4,100 out upon closing, and they had to buy all new furniture for this place because previously they were renting a fully furnished apartment. And so they used that money to furnish their new home, and it was really amazing. They were super stoked.
That's so great. I love to hear stories like that. Another thing that we can do, which we do have to get special permission for, but they're usually pretty flexible. If you're tight on closing cost money or down payment money, a lot of times we can get this hero reward applied at closing, so we can help use it towards your closing costs. So if that's something that would be helpful for you, book a call with us so we can talk about your specific situation and make sure that you'd qualify for that. But this is something that's available if you qualify. This is totally free for you, no obligation. There's nothing that you have to do. We just make sure you're registered in the program and get that reward to you. All right. But what about other programs? So we also have first-time homebuyer grants. There's down payment assistance programs. We even have access to a new loan that, before going through the training on this particular loan product, I had never even heard of before, but they've been around since the 80s. So we're going to talk about that one too. So when it comes to home buyer grants, do they have to be paid back? So sometimes the answer is no. There's actual programs out there where you can get a grant to help you with your down payment and or closing costs. And after closing day, you do not have to pay it back. We just have to check with our lenders at any given time to see if the program money is available. A lot of these programs are national programs. Some of them are state programs. Some of them have a specific amount of money available, and when it's gone, and we just have to wait for another program to have more funds available. But there's a lot of different ways that we can check into this. So this is why I say it's really important to book that one-on-one call, because when we do the one-on-one call, we're actually going to bring one of our lender partners on the call with us so we can check which programs you specifically qualify for. So it's really important that we get that one-on-one time because everybody's situation is a little bit different. How do we qualify? Well, a lot of that is going to depend on your current income. Sometimes it depends on your credit score. One of the loan programs that we have access to actually doesn't look at your credit score at all. This particular loan, they don't look at your credit score. They will pay for your down payment and your closing costs. I know this sounds like too good to be true. They're not looking at my credit, they're paying for my down payment and they're paying for my closing costs. What's the catch? Well, the catch is they're going to make you go through their own version of a home buyer's class. So you're going to do something like this again. So you guys will be super pros. They do require that you stay in the home for at least 5 years. And that's because they're doing such a huge, service to people who maybe couldn't have gotten in a home otherwise. They want to make sure that people actually stay there. And there's a few other requirements that we can talk about one-on-one. And we have somebody asking, how do we find out about these programs? That is a great question. Book a call with us. Because there's so many, I'm just going to give you guys the highlights here tonight. But if you book a call, I'm going to put that link in the chat again to make sure that you have it. And actually, I saw a couple bookings come in already. I'm really excited. We have Kathy who's booked an appointment already. So we must have said something exciting to her already. So we can't wait to get on a call with you and go through your situation in a little bit more detail. So there's also forgivable second mortgages. Oh, Jordan just booked an appointment. Can't wait to see you, Jordan. And we do have down payment assistance. So there's a lot more out there available to you than you even realize. I know that, the old way of thinking about buying a house, can anybody guess? How much down payment do you need to have saved up? I'm sure you've all heard it. Oh, I could never buy a house because I don't have enough down payment. Exactly. We have like 5 different people in the chat saying 20%, 20%, 15%. Yeah, that's kind of what people think, that you need to have 15 or 20% saved. It's actually not true. And when we get into the different types of loans that are available to you, we are going to be able to show you how you can do this without 20% down. And yeah, we also have Kyle saying that 20% of $800,000 is a lot of money. Yes, it is. And that's why so many people don't even try to buy a home, because they have misinformation in their head saying that they're going to need 20%, and you do not. In some cases, we can do it with 0 down, and we can put you into a loan product that will help you with your closing costs and your down payment. It's all going to depend on your individual situation. So we're going to meet with you to figure out which loan do we need to look at. Do we need down payment assistance? Do we need to go with one of the programs that doesn't need you to contribute anything? There's a lot of options. So I'm excited to share more about those options with you when we get to the mortgage part of the presentation. Okay. Mistake number 2, not getting a pre-approval. And before we get into what goes into a pre-approval, I would love to have Kahana share a story with us about what happened to one of his clients when they didn't get their pre-approval done ahead of time, even though we really encourage them to do so.
All right, so short story. I had a client who wanted to buy a piece of property in Kona. And so when the opportunity came, she had not gotten a pre-approval yet. And then in the process of wanting to create an offer or write an offer, she went out, met with a bunch of different lenders, and finally got one. And by then the house had already, or the sellers had already gotten another offer that was accepted, and we lost out on that opportunity to even be considered. So it was really important that we got the pre-approval first, so that we can, so that we didn't miss our opportunity. So it was a heartbreaking lesson that we had to learn, but it was a lesson nonetheless. And so now that buyer is, she knows better than to, she knows to go and get a pre-approval first.
Exactly. And unfortunately, that happens to people all the time. And a lot of times they weren't as savvy as you all are. They didn't come to a home buyers class. They just didn't really think it was that big of a deal. Even despite our best efforts of educating all of our clients and telling them, hey, it would be in your very best interest to go get the pre-approval now. A lot of times people think, oh, but I'm not ready to actually write an offer. I'm just looking. But guess what? They find the perfect house, and then all of a sudden something sparks inside and they're like, I have to have this house. And we scramble as a team and we do everything we can. But despite our best efforts, sometimes there's just too much that has to happen before we can write that offer. So if you know that you're going to seriously be looking to purchase a house, I say within 60 to 90 days, let's just get that pre-approval done. That's one thing we can check off the list. And then if you find a house that you just have to have, that you fall in love with, we can go to work for you and do our jobs and help make that seller pick your offer. So yes, we want to avoid the heartbreaking stories. I hate it when it happens. I always do my best to try to make up for it and work as fast as I can, but sometimes the clock is just against us. So with that being said, what are the 3 pillars of a mortgage approval? So when the lender is going to start qualifying you for a mortgage, they're going to look at your credit. Usually there's a few loans that won't. Your income, I believe they are all going to look at your income and how much down payment you can provide. And we do have some loans that require no down payment at all. So this is what the lender is going to ask you there. So be prepared when we get on the call with the lender. Oh, we have a great question. What if they have cash? We're going to talk about cash here in a little bit. So hold that thought. So they're going to look at the credit, the income, and the down payment, and that's going to help the lender determine which loan is going to be the right fit for you. So when you book your one-on-one call with us, just kind of have that stuff in mind already. There, if you know what your credit score is in general, I know a lot of us use like Credit Karma or some of those other credit monitoring services. If you don't know, that's okay. We have ways of finding out. If you know your income, make sure you know, is it salary? Are you hourly? Do you get consistent income? Are you seasonal? How long have you been at your job? These are things that are going to be really helpful for us to determine which type of loan will be the right fit. And then make sure you let us know if you've been saving for a down payment or if you have a little bit saved and you think you might need some help. This is all information that will be really, really good for us to know. So getting into the loan pre-qualification, the loan pre-qualification helps you determine how much you can afford to spend on the home. And as we said, that's going to look at your credit, your income, and your assets. Pre-qualification can help you determine what house you qualify for. It can help increase your bargaining power when negotiating with a seller because there's no seller in their right mind that's going to accept an offer from a buyer that hasn't submitted any sort of pre-approval or pre-qualification letter because there's no guarantee that that person even has the resources or means to purchase that house. So this is basically the lender verifying on your behalf that they can give you a loan to buy that house. We're also going to help you estimate the monthly payment. So a lot of our clients come to us and say, okay, I can spend $2,500 a month on housing. And then we can work backwards and make sure you qualify for a loan that will give you a $2,500 a month payment. And once we have that number, then we figure out how much house you can afford. And then we go into the market and find out, are there any houses in that price range that would be a good match? So pre-qualification and pre-approval are so important. And then again, that's going to help us identify which loan is going to be best for you. Now, you've heard me say 2 things. You've heard me say loan pre-qualification, and you've heard me say loan pre-approval. Sky or Kahana, do either one of you want to help us out here and tell us the difference between the 2? Or I'll just call on one. Sky, what do you think?
One of them takes a look at like if you just give the lender your numbers, they can pre-qualify pre-qualify you. And then the other one actually looks at your credit score, does a credit pull, examines W-2s and pay stubs. And that one has a little bit more merit behind it, because that just means the lender has gone through the process of really combing through all of your numbers and saying, okay, now we guarantee this is how much loan we can give this person, instead of, oh, we think we can probably give the loan to that person based on the numbers they gave us.
Perfectly said. And thank you, because we had a question from Mark and he wanted to know what the difference between the two are. So yeah, so the pre-qualification, no credit check done. It's just you self-reporting on your situation, and the lender will give the best estimates based on what you self-report. And that's really good if you know, hey, I'm not going to probably be ready to buy a house until next year, but I want to know what to prepare for. If we were to do it today, what could I buy? And that will be super helpful for you to know, like, hey, you're actually in a really good position to do this in 1 year. We could probably even bump you up to 6 months if you wanted. Whereas the pre-approval is for someone like, I have to be in a house in under 90 days. We have to put the pedal to the metal and get this done. We're going to want to go ahead and just get you pre-approved, because we need that document in our possession to start writing offers. So if any questions come up about pre-qualification or pre-approval, put it in the chat, or book that one-on-one call if we end up moving on and can't get to your question. We have a ton of questions. They just keep coming in. So if we can't get to your question, I do want us to end on time today, so I have to skip over some of them. But if I don't get to your question, please book a one-on-one call, because they are important questions, and that's why you're here. We want to make sure we give everybody as much time as they need to feel confident. So we're here to give you like the broad overview on this webinar, but book that one-on-one call. I'm going to put that in the chat one more time, but book that one-on-one call so we can really dig into your own situation. Okay, so loan pre-qualification and pre-approval, it kind of goes for both. So make sure you call us with any questions. We also need you to keep living at your current residence, or if you are going to move, during the time that you're looking to purchase a home, let us know ahead of time. Think about this as like no surprises during this process. That makes things very difficult for the loan underwriters. The underwriters are the ones that kind of comb through your income and your taxes and your credit, and they make sure that everything that you have told to the lender is accurate and true, and they can verify it. So anytime something changes during the process, just let us know. Continue paying your current mortgage or rent. This is huge. Late payments really negatively affect your ability to get a loan. So just whatever you do, make sure you do not miss payments. That'll give you a higher interest rate. There's all kinds of things that are just not good, not positive. So make sure that you continue making your payments. Continue to use your credit as normal. So what we say as normal is don't go out there and start racking up your credit card bills, because the underwriters are not going to like that. If you always use your credit card to buy groceries and then you pay it off at the end of the month, you're good to go. Keep doing that. If you have any questions, because I do see a bunch of questions coming in, but I do want to kind of move through this, book a call, guys. We do have different financial experts on the team that can help you determine how to use your credit and what you can and can't do, or should and shouldn't do. Keep working at your current employer if at all possible. If you do have a job change coming up, let us know ahead of time. We might strategize when the right time is to move your employment, or maybe we buy the house first before you move to a new job, or we'll help you really work out those details to find out what's going to be the best for your situation. We had a question coming in. What about buying a new Tacoma? Well, I do love a new car myself, but if you are going to be purchasing a new vehicle, or that that's something that you want to do around the same time that you want to buy a house, we always say get the house first. It's way easier to get a car loan than it is to get a home loan. So you don't want to set yourself behind based on a vehicle. So again, book a call with us, because our lenders are really trained in this, and they can help you strategize when the right time to buy that new car really is. So we want you to also keep your same insurance company. We want you to stay current on all accounts, any accounts that you have. And we actually have a question, can I cancel credit cards? Is that helpful for us to cancel credit cards? Ron, unfortunately, I know it sounds like that might be a good idea. I have Sky there shaking her head no. Sky, do you want to chime in and tell us why that might not be a good idea? Sky is actually one of our wealth coaches, so she's great to ask all of these financial questions too.
Yes, so your credit score is comprised of different areas, 5 different areas, and they all hold a different weight. So like Staci was saying, making your payments on time is of huge importance because paying your credit cards and your bills and your mortgage and your rent and stuff on time, that is 30% of your credit score, which is the biggest chunk of the pie. When you close credit cards, you actually shrink your available credit, and that is another thing that hurts your credit score. So if you had a credit card that had a $15,000 limit and you've been working on paying that off and you're like, yes, I finally paid off that credit card, I'm just gonna cancel that and close that account. No, you don't want to do that. You can cut up that credit card, you can hide that credit card in the drawer, but you want to keep that account open because that $15,000 of credit available to you is actually going to help your credit score. So don't close any accounts, pay them off, yes, but keep them open.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing how to do that and why that's important. And we also say we want you to expect requests for lots of additional documentation throughout the process because the underwriters are going to need to verify, and verify again. So they might ask you for the same thing 3 different ways. It's part of the process. We've all had to go through it. I know it can be frustrating, but just know they're working in your best interest and they're actually trying to get you approved. It feels like they're trying to deny you sometimes, but they're actually just trying to get you approved. So if they ask you for something, just give it to them. Okay, so we don't want you to make any large purchases. We don't want you to change bank accounts or make any large cash deposits. I know that the underwriters look back about 2 months into your bank statements and they just like to be able to document everything. There's different rules in place to protect from money laundering and terrorism. That's why they don't want to see these large undocumented cash deposits. It's possible that you got a bunch of cash from your wedding, right? That's not to say you can't put that in your bank. Definitely put it in your bank, but no, we're probably going to want to wait 2 months before we start the process. They might actually be fine with a letter of explanation. So sometimes the lender will just say, hey, I see you just put in like $11,000 cash. Like, what is that? You can probably just write a letter that said, oh, we got married and this was all of our wedding money. It's probably fine. But if you have all this cash stashed under your mattress for whatever reason, and it's really hard to explain why you have it, then just start putting it in your bank and just know they're going to look back 2 months. And anytime they see undocumented cash, it just puts up little alarm bells and they're going to want to research that further. So try not to transfer balances. I know our lenders say like it's better to just leave the money where it is if you can. It's easier to document that way. If you start moving money all around, then that's more letters of explanation that you're going to have to do, and it just makes it harder for everybody. That's a great question. We have Kevin asking, what if I win big in Vegas? Again, as long as we can document it, we're probably fine. If you hit the jackpot in Vegas and you come home $20,000 richer, you absolutely can put that in the bank along with a letter of explanation. And that's something that is super important just to protect you so there's no surprises. Another great question coming in, you guys, we have tons of questions coming in, so I'm going to pick one more on this topic, but book a call with us, one-on-one, and we can get to these. Can my parents gift me the down payment? We actually are going to talk about that, about gift funds. So I might save that question for later in the webinar, but it is a great question. Try not to consolidate your debt onto 1 or 2 credit cards. Try not to apply for new credit or take out any new loans. Like we talked about getting the new car. This is not the time to sign a car loan. This is not the time to co-sign for your brother's car because he has bad credit, because that's all going to count against your ability to qualify for a loan. And so this is the time that we want to be very, very meticulous. We want to pare everything back, and we want to look really streamlined, really clean to the underwriters. And this is something we can definitely do a strategy session with you on. We'll look at everything you have, all of your loans, and help you determine the best route moving forward. And please try not to max out or overcharge your credit card accounts. It just does not look good to the underwriters. Okay, we're going to talk about the different types of mortgages available. So there's so many different types of loans. I've only got 4 listed here, and there's more. It all just depends on what you qualify for. These are the 4 most common. The conventional loan, that's the one that everybody used to think, oh, you need 20% down to get a conventional loan. That's not true. You need 3 to 5% down to get a conventional loan. There are so many choices of how you can do this. So if you've heard that you need 20% down to do conventional, that is not accurate. And we can talk to you in more detail about why the conventional loan might be the right fit for you. A lot of this is going to determine what type of property you want to buy, how much that property costs, how much income you make, what your credit score is. So what our lender is going to do is look at all those factors and say, okay, based on everything you told me, this is the right loan for you. The FHA loan is actually a government loan, and it was created to help housing become more affordable for people. So FHA will allow you to have a little bit lower of a credit score, less down payment. I think FHA now is at 3.5% down is what they require. They are going to have you pay private mortgage insurance, also known as PMI, if you do anything under 20% down. And on the FHA loan, you will not be able to remove the PMI unless you refinance into a different loan. So pros and cons of everything. It might get you into the house sooner, but you might have that little mortgage insurance payment on your mortgage bill. But I think that's definitely a good price to pay for home ownership. We just had Alohi and Kaleo book an appointment after talking about this. That's so exciting. I can't wait to meet you guys in person and talk about your situations. All right. We also have the USDA loan. The USDA loan is really interesting because it was designed to help develop rural areas. So unfortunately for all of my Oahu attendees, there's not a ton of places left on Oahu that can qualify for the USDA loan. I think really the only places is the west side, kind of out by Waianae, where you can use the USDA loan. Big Island, most of the Big Island can use the USDA loan, but I know in Hilo town you cannot, but all of the surrounding areas. Yeah, we have some excited people about Big Island because we do have lots of rural land there. And the USDA loan is actually a 0 down loan. So as long as your income meets the requirements, and I do believe they're going to check the income for everybody living in the household, even if they're not going to be on the loan, they're going to still check and make sure you fall within the limits. And if you do, you will not have to pay a down payment for the USDA loan. So this is a really great option for those of you who maybe only have enough money saved for your closing costs. And we had a bunch of community heroes. So maybe you can get a USDA loan combined with the hero reward that can help you with those closing costs. And we might be able to get you in a home for very, very little, if not 0 down. And then we have the VA loan. And this is for our veterans and our active duty. And I saw we had a bunch of people on the call that qualify for this loan. This loan is amazing as well. It's a 0 down payment loan. There's also no mortgage insurance on this loan. And I would say here in Hawaii, about 50% of all the loans that our team does are VA loans. We have a lot of military, veterans, active duty all over the place. And actually, we have a really great question that just came in. can I use my VA loan more than once? That is a fantastic question. And the answer is yes. You can use your VA loan more than once. There is a limit on how much you can use. So I'd have to check and see because the limits change every year. And that's a great question for our lenders to tell us what the limit is, or how much house you can buy with the VA loan. But you can use it more than once as long as you have sold the previous house and free up that money to use it again. Some people can actually own two homes on the VA loan. Let's say they lived in Utah as a veteran, you bought a home for $250,000, and then they got transferred to Hawaii, and they still have money left on the VA loan entitlement because there's a set amount of money that you can have out on loans at any given time. And if you can show that you were transferred, then you can actually use that loan again, even though you haven't sold the first house, because there's more money left on your entitlement. So there's a lot of misinformation about VA loans. I know not everybody qualifies for the VA loan on this call, and this is a really, really great loan. So if you are a veteran, I see that Adam and Mike just raised their hands to say, yep, we're veterans, and they want to find out more information. Guys, book a call because this is such an important loan product to talk about. I'm going to put my booking link in the chat. There's a fifth type of loan that I'm not really talking about tonight because it doesn't really apply to everyone, but this particular loan is the one that I was telling you about that doesn't check your credit score, that is 0 down payment, and they pay your closing costs for you. That's the one where you have to live in a house for 5 years, and there's a bunch of other rules that go along with it. If that's the loan that seems like that's the one that you are most interested in, we definitely need to do a one-on-one call because this is the type of loan. There's only one provider of this loan that does them, and they don't even really like us to advertise the name of the loan. It's very like, they don't want everyone like, I don't know if they only have so many of these loans they can give out. I don't know why they don't want us like saying it by name publicly. It's fine to talk about it on a one-on-one appointment and we'll get you registered. So if that's the loan that you think you're interested in, book the call right now and send me a text and say, I want that 0 down, no down payment, no closing cost loan. And I will know that that's the loan we're going to speak about on our call. So I just actually had 3 of those booked right now. So I'm so excited to talk to you guys about that one. It's very exciting, but there's rules around how we talk about it, which is why I'm not giving too much information on this public webinar. It's something that we can talk about privately on the one-on-one. So now that we have a little bit more information on types of mortgages, let's talk about what you can and can't use for down payment and closing costs. Sky, my financial coach, would you like to play a game with me?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, Sky, can I use my 401k or retirement accounts for my down payment and or closing costs?
Yes, absolutely. So there's certain rules with taking money out of your 401k and retirement accounts, and using that money to put a down payment on a house is allowed.
That's awesome. Let's ask the group. What do you guys think? Can we use gift money? Give me a thumbs up. Give me a yes or a no if you think we can use gift money for your down payment or closing costs. Steve says yes. Lisa says yes. Lonnie says yes. Mike says no. Lehua says yes. All right, Sky, what's the verdict?
So you can use gift money. So somebody earlier in the webinar asked, can my parents help me with the down payment? So they can absolutely gift you that money for the down payment, and there will need to be a letter from them explaining that it is a gift. And whatever you do on the side, if you want to like pay them back for it under the table without the lender knowing, it's totally allowed. But for the purposes of underwriting, it's going to be a gift that you're not legally required to pay back.
Awesome. All right, what do you guys think? Can we use stocks, bonds, and cash for our down payment? Let me know in the chat, yes or no. Can we do it? Can we not do it? We have a yes, another yes. We have a no. Adam says no on this one. Kevin says yes. All right, let's ask Sky.
Ooh, this is a tricky one. I would have to double check with my lender friends, but I'm gonna guess yes.
That's what I've been told as well with the current regulations. Now, just know these things can change, and that's why we like to book a one-on-one call with you and with one of our lenders. But the last I checked, you could use those items for your down payments. And what do you guys think? This is an interesting one. Can we use our credit cards? Get all the points? What do you guys think about that? Wouldn't it be nice? Put the points, get some free trips out of using our down payment. Richard says yes. Jenny says no. Phil says yes. We have split people here. Let's see. What do you think, Sky? Can we use our credit cards to pay our down payment and closing costs?
Although it would be nice, unfortunately, we cannot use credit cards. And the biggest reason for that is because now you have put yourself in debt. And remember, we don't want to make any big purchases or take out any loans or rack up our credit cards in order to do these sorts of things.
That makes perfect sense. I know a few of you are saying no, but that's why you're on this call, so we can plan, so we know what we can do, what we can't do. Sky, can we use like a personal loan to pay our down payment? Can we go to the bank and have them do like a personal loan? I think I kind of understand where we went with the last one, so
Nope,
same deal, huh? Because it's
same
debt.
deal.
Okay. What about undocumented cash? Because I've been saving cash under my mattress for the past 5 years because I'm super paranoid. What do you guys think? Yes or no? Undocumented cash. We talked about this a little while ago. Let's see who was paying attention. I'm getting no, thumbs down, cannot. Mike says no. I think the consensus, I think everybody is yep.
They were listening. They were listening to you.
I love it. So undocumented cash is a no-no. Remember, they're going to look back 2 months worth. So if you have a bunch of cash lying around and you're going to buy a house in the next 6 months, start sliding that into the bank so we can count it and we can use it. So I hope that clears up a lot. Do we have any questions? Yeah, I know you guys have been really good about asking questions as we go. I know the chat has been moving super fast today. I do want to keep us on schedule. So thank you guys for hanging in. I hope this has been great information so far. Great question. Why don't they teach this in school, right? I know. I wish they did. And I can't answer that question, but the good news is we are here as a resource for you, and you're getting all the information that you know right now. So, okay, what fees do we need to be paid, whether it's before closing or after closing? We're going to have to pay for an appraisal fee if you're using a lender. So the lender is going to want to know that the house is actually worth what you offered for it. So whatever you and the seller determined was going to be the purchase price, the lender is going to say, wait, hold on, third party here. I don't want to overpay for an asset that's not worth that. So they're going to send in their own appraiser to check the house over and make sure that it is actually worth what you said you'd pay for it. Now that appraiser is going to be paid for by the buyer, and it gets paid no matter what. So even if you get yourself into a contract and you decide to cancel that contract, you still have to pay the appraiser because they are a third party and they still had to go out to the house to get that work done. Appraisers are going to be anywhere from 800. I've seen them up to 1,200. It depends on the size of the house and which island you're on. So that's something we can talk about more individually. Title and escrow fees. This is something that is going to be on every real estate transaction, unless we can get creative and ask the seller for help with closing costs, which all three of us are really, really good at doing. I know Sky just had one. She was able to get closing costs as part of the contract. So the seller actually gave the buyers money to help pay for these title and escrow fees. So we can talk about that as a strategy as well. But both the buyer and the seller typically split the title and escrow fees. So that's something to be expecting as part of closing costs, unless we are able to get the sellers to help us. And I'll tell you, in this market right now, where we might have a little bit higher interest rates, that's keeping a lot of buyers on the sidelines. So you can be a super smart buyer get yourself out there right now. And although you might have a slightly higher interest rate, you might get some of these title and escrow fees paid for, which is really cool because you're not competing against, 10 other offers on the same house. So these are all strategies that we're going to talk about and help you determine. We did have a great question from Jenny that I want to address real quick. What if the house doesn't appraise for the agreed upon price? That is a fantastic question. So there's a few options here. The seller does not have to sell it to you for the appraised value. So if you gave, an offer of 500,000, but the appraiser says it's only worth 480,000, a few things can happen. We always try to renegotiate the price on behalf of our clients. So if we are the buyers and we go to the seller and say, hey, it only appraised for 480,000. That's all we can afford to pay for the house because that's all the money that the bank will lend us. Will you lower the price to the market value? I would say 8 times out of 10, these sellers typically agree to lower the price to market value because they know they're going to have a hard time getting anybody to overpay for the house. I've had a few rare instances where the sellers don't budge. If that's the case, then maybe we renegotiate the price. Maybe it's only like a $10,000 difference. Maybe we offered 500,000, but the appraiser came in at 490,000. Maybe the two parties decide to split the difference. So maybe the seller says, I'll take $5,000 off the price. And the buyer says, I'll bring an extra $5,000 in cash to make the deal close. Just remember, anything above the appraised value will have to come out of your pocket in cash because the appraiser has advised the bank it's not worth that price, and the bank will not lend you anything over than the appraised value. The third option, the two parties can't agree on what the price is going to be after the appraiser does his job, and we have to cancel the contract. If we have to cancel the contract, any deposits that you put down on the home will be returned. That is a legal reason for canceling. So you will get your initial deposit back. I know we didn't talk about initial deposits yet, but when you do make an offer on a home, you are going to have to put something into the escrow company's, escrow account saying that you are able, willing, and excited to buy this house. So it's basically you putting your money where your mouth is. Even if you're going to do a 0 down loan, I would say at least reserve about $1,000 minimum that you can put in the escrow account to hold that house for you. We can get that money refunded to you if it's a 0 down loan, or we can get that money applied towards your closing costs. But you do need to have that available to write an offer. And again, if the house doesn't appraise and you have to cancel the contract, you do get that money back. So it is really pretty safe. Okay. We also have to think about home inspections that comes out of your pocket. Those can be anywhere from $300 to $700, depending on the size of the home and which island you're on. And we can give you island specific guidance on that. We work with a fantastic team of home inspectors, and we're always happy to make recommendations to people who have done a great job for us. And then sometimes we need to do termite inspections. So most lenders are going to want to see a termite inspection to make sure the house is not infested and going to fall down after closing. The VA loan does not like it when the buyers pay for the inspection themselves, in which case we try to get the seller to pay for that. Many times we're successful, but we do have creative ways of making that happen. And then every other loan type, it is totally acceptable for the buyer to pay for their own termite inspection. We can try to ask the seller to cover it, and this is a strategy. So sometimes when we're in a very competitive market and we're going up against 5 other offers, we might not ask the seller to pay for the termite inspection because they're going to go for the cleanest offer that makes them do the least amount of things. So maybe we'll say, hey, we'll pay the $400 for the termite inspection. Don't worry about it, seller. However, if we're looking at a house that maybe has been on the market for 60 days and we have no competition, that gives us a little bit more flexibility to ask the seller to give us some incentives so we buy the house from them. So those are all things to think about that you'll want to have some cash on hand to complete your home purchase. All right. Any questions on the material we've been covering so far? You guys have been awesome about keeping the chat active, so I've been trying to address them as we go. I'm glad to hear you guys are learning so much. I love it. Thank you so much for making this so fun for us, because when we have a really active group, it just brings out the passion that we have for helping everybody. So with that being said, we're just going to keep plugging along. Mistake number 3. Okay, going to the listing agents to buy your house. I mean, we've all heard of this before. I think it's Sunday afternoon. You see an open house sign in a neighborhood that you're dying to live in. Let's just pull off the street, go take a peek. A listing agent greets you, offers you cookies. She's asking you, do you have a real estate agent? They're hoping you say no, by the way. And then when you say no, all of a sudden they're your best friend. Trust me, this is how it goes. The reason they're your best friend is because they're hoping that you will ask them to write the offer to buy the house. Can anybody think or give me a reason why this might be a bad idea? Why is it a bad idea to have the listing agent represent you to buy the house? Go ahead and throw it in the chat, because this is something that comes up all the time. Mike says because they work for the seller. Very good, Mike. That is a very good. They absolutely do work for the seller. And so we're going to talk about what your choices are here. Richard says they're trying to sell the home and by any means necessary. Yes. And I'm not saying listing agents are bad people. They are not, because I also list homes too. However, it's really hard to do your best work for 2 different people on the same transaction. So we're going to talk about why this is so important to think about these things. And I'm going to have Kahana, if you wouldn't mind, take us through this slide.
So, reason 1, it's a direct conflict of interest, dealing on both sides. The listing agent has a contract with the seller, like you mentioned earlier, Stace, and then they may not fight for your interests. So fighting for your interests in the terms of negotiating or trying to, get the price or credits, and then you could pay thousands of dollars extra. There you go.
Absolutely. And it's because that listing agent, they're BFF at this point with their sellers. You know, that the sellers have hired this listing agent to come in and represent them. They've spent lots of time together. You know, that listing agent wants to do the very best job for those clients that they can, which means, are they going to really try to get you every penny that you could maybe seller credits, maybe getting that termite inspection paid for? Or are they going to try to just do an adequate job to keep their seller clients happy? Because remember, they're in contract together. They have a duty to make sure that seller gets the most profit as possible. So Sherry wants to know, Sherry says, I want my agent to be my BFF and no one else's. Yeah, Sherry, exactly. And that's why we say hire a buyer's agent, because they work for you. And so all of my team on this call represent clients as buyer's agents. And what does this mean? So that buyer's agent is going to work directly for you and only you. They have no obligation at all to the seller. There's rarely an out-of-pocket cost. I've never, ever in my entire career had to have a buyer pay an out-of-pocket cost to work with me as a buyer's agent. The reason I put rarely is because there might be a random situation where maybe you fall in love with a house that's for sale by owner or something like that, and the seller is adamant that they will not contribute towards the buyer's agent's commission. Typically, when a seller sells the house, they are paying a commission to the listing agent, and that listing agent is agreeing to split a portion of it with the buyer's agent for helping bring a buyer to the property. So when you have certain situations where the seller says, I'm unwilling to offer any money to pay a buyer's agent a portion of, then we have to come to an agreement together, because I would love to work for free, but I don't think any of us agents are able to work for free. We love you, but we do also need to make sure that we get paid for our time. 99.9% of the time, it's going to come from the seller's commission that they paid to the seller's agent. That seller's agent is going to compensate us directly for helping them get that house sold. So we just put that little caveat in there. You will have a strong negotiator on your side. We are all trained to work on the best interests of our buyers. We're going to think of all kinds of strategies. We're going to think of things we can do to get you the best deal, the best terms, whatever's important to you. We're going to make sure that all of our contracts reflect that. And we strongly recommend that you sign a buyer's representation agreement. This is a document that protects you and it protects us as the buyer's agent. It also means that that listing agent can't try to claim you as a client when you go to that open house and sign in on the sign-in form. Even if you say, yes, I have a realtor, there's been instances where the listing agent tries to claim that they're the reason that you're going to buy the house, and that's just not true. So if you have that buyer's representation agreement signed, we can say, nope, see, we signed this agreement, a month ago. This has been my agent the whole time. So during our one-on-one call, we're going to talk about the buyer's representation agreement. After you've had a chance to fully interview us and get to know us in more detail, we're going to ask you if you're ready to sign the representation agreement. I promise none of us are super sticklers where if you're unhappy with our service, if we're not providing you everything that we promised, we're not going to hold you in that agreement. That means we've done something wrong and we're going to do everything we can to make it right. But if it just is not working out and you're like, oh, we're just a bad personality fit, or you're never available. Like I said, this has never happened to us, but if it happens, we will let you out of the agreement. It's more for a protection, so we can all prove that we have an established relationship and nobody can try to claim you as their client when you're not supposed to be. So I hope that clears up buyer's agency for you guys. All right, mistake number 4, skipping a home inspection. I know a lot of you are thinking, why in the world would anybody want to do that? Well, when we had the time of, 10 to 20 offers going on one home, we had all kinds of crazy things going on, and buyers were waiving their right to a home inspection. They were getting themselves in so much unnecessary financial hardship by doing this. So we're going to talk a little bit about what this is. So what is the true cost of skipping a home inspection? You could end up purchasing a house and be unaware of the potential deal breakers in the house. You're looking at a home just on its surface. Like, you're not in the walls, in the pipes, you're not checking the electrical box. There's certain things that you might not even know to look for, but that home inspector is trained to look at that house top to bottom. They go up on the roof, they go under the house, they're checking faucets, they're running the dishwasher. They want you to know exactly what you're buying so you can know that this is a good deal for you. You also lose your negotiating power if you skip a home inspection. So let's say you do that home inspection and you find out that there is a leak in the roof that's going to cost $5,000 to repair. Well, guess what? We can now go to the seller and say, hey, here's the report. The inspector found this roof leak. We still like the house, but we definitely don't want to buy it with a leaky roof. So if you guys can go ahead and get that repaired before closing, we are good to move forward. So it gives you negotiating power to get things fixed, repaired. Sometimes they might say, hey, we can't repair it. We don't have the resources to repair it before closing, but we'll give you a credit so you can actually get it done yourself. So there's a couple ways we can deal with things when it comes to repairs of the home. Sometimes they might just lower the price of the home. I had one home that found like a really big foundation crack. It wasn't super structural, but it did need to be addressed. And so the sellers didn't want to fix it beforehand. The buyers didn't really want the credit. They just wanted the price of the home to be reduced. So we renegotiated the price based on that new information, and we did still close. And I have Chemo saying that he works in construction. So I hear that all the time. where somebody might say, I'm going to skip the home inspection because I work in construction. So I would caution you to do that unless you are a general contractor, which you might be, I don't really know. And if you are, then maybe you do have all of the resources and tools to do your own top to bottom inspection, or you feel like whatever comes up, it doesn't matter because you could handle it yourself, which totally get. And in that case, I might say, hey, if you feel good with it, let's do it. But maybe Chemo, you are an electrician, but you don't have a lot of experience with plumbing, or maybe you don't know a lot about foundations. Then it still might be a really good idea to have that home inspector come in. And then maybe since you work in construction, you have some, friends that do other, different trades than what you do, and maybe they can actually help you get those repairs done. But it's always good to know what you're getting into ahead of time. So you're rarely going to hear me or anyone on my team advise you to skip a home inspection. We're actually going to always push you for it, and you're going to have to sell us on why that's a good idea. It's always your choice, but we are always going to push you to do it. You risk inheriting non-structural safety issues. Maybe there's mold in the house. Maybe there's things that you just didn't even know to look for. You miss having a forecast of future repair costs, because they're going to tell you when things might be going bad. Like, hey, you got 5 years left on your roof. Your water heater is 15 years old. It's working well now, but that could go in a couple years. We actually, this is a great one. Kahana had mentioned he's seen that they have done the posts and pier work on actual lava rock on the Big Island. Sounds like a good idea, maybe not the best idea. So these are things that you might not know to go check for. You might be oblivious to anything done without permits or that are not to code. So if a home inspector finds work that is not up to code, that's a little red flag for us to go check and make sure all the work was permitted. You don't want to inherit somebody else's bad work that you might have to pay for in the future. And you also don't know the status of termites. And so a home inspector is going to be able to point out if there's any areas that we need to bring in additional, termite inspectors in for. All right, guys, we're almost there. This is the final mistake that we need to talk about: not taking the condo document review period seriously. So not everyone is going to be buying a house with HOA, homeowners association, or condo documents. However, more and more single family home neighborhoods are being created with homeowners associations. So even if you're not buying a condo, your single family home might actually be part of a homeowners association. And we have to really dig into these documents to make sure you're okay and comfortable with what you're agreeing to. Because by buying that home, whether it's a condo or a single family in that association, you're agreeing to all of those rules. So why do we need to take these review period seriously? You could find out that the homeowners association is broke. And that actually happened to me and my partner. We were looking at purchasing a home on Oahu on the windward side of the island. It was a really awesome, cute little place. It was small, but we were going to maybe live in it for a little bit, maybe rent it out. We weren't sure. It was really cheap. And I was like, wow, that's so cheap. Like, I can't figure out why it's so cheap. Home inspection came back good. Everything looked great. Well, then I got the condo documents and I found out that not only are they broke, they're in the negative, meaning they have more expenses going out every month than what they bring in. And right away, that was like an alarm bell to me saying this can't go on forever. And eventually they're going to have to either A, raise those association fees, or B, do a big special assessment where they're going to ask every homeowner to kick in like $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 to get the association back in the positive. And this can actually cause people to have to foreclose on their house or sell it and move out because they can't afford those fees anymore. So we need to know this ahead of time. Our team is excellent at looking at homeowners association documents, looking in the past to find out, is there anything weird in here that we need to be aware of to help you pick really good buildings and communities to buy into. You could find out that they're planning to raise the HOA fees dramatically over the next few years. I had a client go into one building that they absolutely adored. Everything was perfect. Home inspection was perfect. They qualified perfectly. And then we got the documents. and we found out that they were going to be raising the HOA fees 10% every year for the next 7 years, you guys. At the end of the 7 years, that condo is going to be unaffordable for them. They would not be able to afford to live there because that is a drastic increase. So these are things we can find telltale signs in these documents. Typically, if the homeowners association has never had to do big dramatic increases in the past, they probably won't do them in the future because that's showing us that they're a very well-run and well-managed association. So we're going to help you determine that. You could learn that they have a special assessment pending that you weren't aware of. Maybe the building is like 30 years old and all the plumbing pipes are starting to go bad and they have to pull everything out and repipe the whole building. That's super expensive. I've seen that happen where that could be like a $30,000 assessment on every single owner. And what they'll do, they'll usually be able to get an outside loan to cover the project, but then everyone's going to be responsible for an extra like $400 a month for the next 15 years. So these are things we want to look for, plan for, and try to avoid if at all possible. You could also learn that the building doesn't allow pets. You know, the listing agent might have said, yeah, they allow pets. And they were unaware that they only allow service animals and your doggy isn't a service animal. Maybe they have pet weight restrictions where it said, yes, it allows pets, but you didn't know that your dog is 50 pounds and they only allow 20-pound pets. So we want to vet all of this ahead of time to make sure that you fully understand what you are getting into. All right, guys, we did it. How do you feel now? Do you still feel stressed? Do you feel concerned? Do you feel uncertain? Do you feel anxious? Let us know in the chat. We would love to hear how you're feeling now. That's awesome. Kim is saying that she's feeling educated. Phil is looking forward to meeting us. We are too, Phil. We love it. For those of you that haven't booked your call yet, I'm putting that link back in there. We only scratched the tip of the iceberg. I know all of us could have kept going for another hour, but we also don't want you to have to sit here listening to us any longer. And we would love to continue this on our one-on-one calls. We have Jenny who feels relieved. I'm so glad to hear that, Jenny. Adam is feeling really good about the information. That makes us so happy because a lot of it is just clarity, you know, talking it through. The very first step is to book that one-on-one call. You know, that's going to help you understand where in the process you are. Can we jump right in and go for it? Did you find out that your landlord is raising the rent? This happened to us on our last call. We found out one of our attendees was going to get this huge rent increase, and they were just kind of sick of paying rent to the landlord. And they wanted to start building real wealth for themselves. And so they jumped on a one-on-one call with us. We're working on the pre-approval and we're hoping to find them a property that they can move into so they don't have to sign another 1-year lease. Sarah feels excited. Sarah, I'm so happy that you feel excited about this. So with that, let's see what the next steps are. You can book a call with us to discuss your personal situation. This is so important, you guys. Like I said, there's nothing to buy. We're not going to sell you anything. You're not signing up for anything. You are just getting more information on your personal situation. We'll be able to tailor it a little bit more, maybe develop a roadmap for you. Maybe, you know, maybe you have to do some credit repair. We have credit repair specialists that can help you. We believe in going on this journey with you, whether you're ready to buy tomorrow or it takes 2 years. I don't think any of us are leaving this business anytime soon. We are full-time, and we will work with you every step of the way. We have no problem doing that. I love to hear Bob feels like he can actually move back home because he's tired of the Utah winters. I hear you. I'm originally from Chicago. I know how brutal those winters can be. So we'd love to get you back here so you can, you know, just build your future in the place that you want to call home. So after you book the call with us, we're going to help you get pre-approved. So whether that's the pre-qualification, which doesn't require a credit check, it's just more for information so you can craft your plan, or you're ready to go and we need to get you pre-approved so we can start writing offers. We will help you do either one, whichever one you want to start with. And then we get to do the fun part, which is house shopping. And so you'll get to meet with one of us, depending on which island you're on. I do have other team members as well that couldn't be on the call, but they're all amazing. So we're going to pair you up with someone that's going to be your shopping buddy and your resource for all things home related. We always say we give you our personal cell phone numbers because we want to make sure that you have access to the information that you need whenever you need it. We have Sarah who just booked an appointment. That's awesome. We also have Ashley that just booked an appointment. We are so excited. You guys, hurry up and book your call. We had a lot of people on here and my calendar is filling up, but we would love to get you on. So just take a peek, see which time slot works best for you. With that being said, do we have any final questions? We can hang out here if anybody else has any last minute questions that we didn't go over. We can also, I know that we've had so many questions going on. I haven't been able to get to everybody. I really wanted to get to everybody, but definitely book your one-on-one call because we will be able to answer every question that you could possibly have. We'll spend as much time as we need to, talking through your personal situation. The first thing to do is start. And that's what we're here for. We do have a question that they're asking, once I find a home, how long before you can move in? That's a great question. Let's make this the last question of the webinar so we can get you guys on with your evening. But I love this question. So we always say we like to work backwards. So let's say we need to plan for how long it takes to close the home. So a typical escrow period can be about 45 days from the time that you write your contract and get it accepted to the time you get your keys. We like to plan for 45 days. We can get it done in 30. We have an excellent team that can get right to it. But if we do it in 30, you have to be super on point. You have to get every document into the lender's hands right when they ask for it. You have to be ready to do everything as soon as it's asked for. But we definitely can do 30 days, but we like to plan for 45 just in case anything happens. We're prepared. We can also go longer. I would never recommend asking for a closing longer than 60 days because at that point, the sellers are like, I'm just going to pick a different offer that can do it faster. So the sweet spot is 45 days. Then we say it can actually take anywhere from 2 weeks to a month to find the house. And that's going to be at your pace. So if you need to go shopping, hey, I got 3 hours on Saturday, let's pack in as many showings as we can do that. If you say, hey, I've only got Tuesday after work available for showings, and maybe it's going to take us 3 consecutive Tuesdays to find that house. But I always say the average is about 30 days to find the house. So we're already at 65 days. Plus, we have to get you pre-approved. And I say pre-approval can take about a week to 2 weeks, depending on how quickly you can get all the documents to the lender. So really, we could be 90 days. So those of you who have kind of shared that I might be ready to, my lease is up in 3 months and I want to be in my own home in 3 months, we got to start right now, seriously starting right now to be able to meet that deadline. So every situation is going to be different and unique. But I always say 90 days ahead of when you want to do something is that could even be pushing it, but we can get it done. We've found people homes the very first day they go out showing, and then we've got them into a 30-day escrow. So we can make miracles happen. We just need your help to do it. So that's awesome, you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of the webinar with us. We really hope it was amazing information. I had 3 more appointments booked while we were going through that explanation. I'm so excited. You're going to keep our calendars full for the next week, which is amazing. We do look forward to the one-on-one calls with you. You'll be able to ask us any of the questions that we weren't able to get to tonight, and just write them down. And remember to share with me if you're interested in the loan program that pays your closing costs and doesn't use a credit score. It's harder to qualify for that one, but we want to make sure we get you all the information that you need. Otherwise, we're going to get you on a call with one of our amazing lenders and find you guys a home or get you a plan. So with that being said, we are going to log off and we look forward to connecting with you on our one-on-one calls. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, now I'm going to stop the recording.